Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming out tonight. I'm going to call to order the June 2nd Plan Commission meeting. With that, if we could all stand and do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sergio, roll call, please.
Robert Burleson.
Here.
Yolanda Cardona would be absent today. John Gill.
Here.
Donna Little.
Here.
Jason Vlasic.
Here.
Nancy Woland.
Here.
John Kennedy.
Here.
We have Attorney Adam Decker.
Here.
Engineer Ken Kraus.
Here.
And Councilman Liaison Brian Blazak.
Here.
Excellent, thank you. Next on the agenda is minutes. If I can get a motion to defer. We have no minutes to approve tonight.
Motion to defer the minutes.
If I can get a second.
Second.
I have to do roll call because we're remote, right? So roll call, please.
Bob Burleson.
Yes.
John Gill.
Yes.
Donna Little.
Yes.
Jason Vlasic.
Yes.
Nancy Woland.
Yes.
And John Kennedy.
Yes, minutes have been deferred. All right, next on the agenda, we have a couple of public hearings. Before we go there, Jeff will bring you up in a second. Sergio, why don't you just give us a run-through real quick to the board on what's being heard tonight, just so everyone has understanding.
Of the entire agenda or just?
No,
this?
just this one.
Okay.
We'll go one by one for the public hearing.
Okay, so this evening we have Martin's Commercial Edition, Lot 9. The applicant appeared before the Board of Zoning Appeals to file two variances, one for the location of parking in the front of the building, and the other one was for a request to reduce the required minimum square footage of a building from 15,000 square feet to 8,120. At the Board of Zoning Appeals, it was determined that they prefer to see the proposed lot in proportion to the proposed or the existing size of the lot there, which is 40,000 square feet. After doing some calculations on the minimum standards of square footage of the lot to the proposed acreage, minimum requirement of acreage, it was determined 17% lot or building coverage or building size would be appropriate. So the applicant amended and updated their site plan from the original 8,120 square foot building to 7,000 square feet building to be in proportion of the ratio of building to lot coverage there. So what you're seeing here is a amended site plan showing a 7,000 square foot building. The layout over the previously approved or previously presented parking spaces and drive-through lane are still the same.
Thank you very much. With that, Jeff, do you have any comments before we open up the public hearing? If not, you could wait till afterwards, but if you want to present to the board real quick, it's your call. If not, I'm glad to come forward. Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Jeff, if you could just say your name and who you're from, please, for the record.
My name is Jeff Brandt. I'm with Brandt Construction. I live at 18004 Victoria Court in Cobblestone, Munster, Indiana. I'm here to present a revised site plan that we have worked through with the commission regarding the lot on Poplar and Parrish Avenue. And I've been working with Sergio to come up with a site plan that we feel that would be acceptable to this commission. So I'm here to answer any questions that you might have regarding the site plan and how we can move forward.
Sergio, any of the variants were not taken under consideration at the last, I was not at the BZA the last meeting, so.
I'm trying to remember. I think they were deferred. The
Deferred.
variances were
Okay.
deferred, correct.
The only two variances we had asked for was for the parking, and the lot's a non-standard
It's
lot.
less than 2 acres, right?
Yeah, so that's the issue we've been trying to work through, is to make sure that we have the proper square footage and parking to make this project work.
I think you got lot size variance because it's less than 2 acres, building size because it's less than 15,000 square feet.
Right.
And then parking requirement, he's requesting his parking being in the front versus the sides. I think those were the variances that were requested. All right, any questions or comments from the board prior to them opening up the public hearing? Ken, have you seen this, or, I mean, the
Yes,
updated?
and- yeah, I saw this, and like Sergio said, the only difference between the original site plan is the building size. There was at one time a row of parking on the east side of the eastern driveway, which has been removed, and the parking requirements were met without it, so this will meet with the smaller building, should be fine.
Okay,
The only other thing was in my letter, was that the light poles cannot be more than 25 feet, and you can see there's a note on here that says they're only going to be 20 feet. So that meets that one comment.
okay. And I'll make sure I'll read your note into the record, so. All right, any other comments, questions before we open up the public hearing? Sergio, are we good to go with public hearing?
Yes, everything's in order for the public hearing.
Okay, with that, I will open up the public hearing for Martin's Commercial Edition, Lot 9. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak regarding the site plan review, or, I'm sorry, the site plan for this, please come up, state your name and address for the record, please. Again, I will ask again, is there anyone online that would like to speak? Sergio, did we receive any electronic?
I have not received anything electronically as of 6:30 this evening.
Again, I will ask one more time before I close the public hearing, if anyone would like to make a comment regarding Martin's Commercial Edition, Lot 9. Going once, twice. Public hearing is now closed. Jeff, I'll bring you back up to the podium. Jeff, one comment. You did reduce the building size. That's great. In reducing the building size, as we all know, 2,500 square feet per building is one parking spot. You kept the same amount of parking per your 81,000 square foot building. And is there any opportunity to, it seems, I understand this is a non-conforming site. You got streets on all corner or building to the side, so I understand you're working with a challenging site. I still feel like we're trying to stuff as much parking in there with the building going down. Is there any opportunity to reduce a couple parking spots?
We can definitely reduce some parking spots, but what benefit would that offer the community by, shrinking down the parking?
Okay.
That's my question to you. I mean,
I'm just, still seems,
well,
I understand parking is always an issue at every site. I just don't know if we're trying to stuff too much parking into a building at that site, but, I mean, you meet, so.
are you asking me if I would reduce the parking, or?
I'm asking you, I mean, I can't, I'm just, consider, if
prefer-
there's any
I would-
consideration to reduce the parking, but I'm one person, so I don't know what the rest of the board feels.
I would
If
prefer to have as much parking as possible and that meets your code requirements.
Okay. All right. No other questions or comments from the board? Again, this is for site plan approval. It's a plan commission action to approve, deny, defer. Any other comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion. And if you would, make the motion contingent on approval from BZA, because the BZA has not approved some of the zoning variances that are
Correct.
required.
There's two, they deferred the two variances that were filed for. One was the size of the building, one was for the location of the parking.
Because the parking is not on the sides of the building, it's in the front of the building.
Correct.
So any motion, please make it contingent on BZA approval, which would be at the, was that the 16th? Like the 21st, 20th
21st,
meeting?
correct.
Like to make a motion to approve Martin's Commercial Edition Lot 9 contingent on the BZA approval.
We got a motion to approve, contingent on BZA approval. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, that opens it up for discussion, and I apologize. Let me read Ken's letter. Dear Plan Commission, we have reviewed the site plan for the reference project and have the following comments. One, we have reviewed the site plan and find it to be satisfactory, with the exceptions that the parking lot lighting luminaires are not to exceed 25 feet in height, which we have determined they will be 20 feet. The lighting plan and landscaping plan are considered as being included within the site plan review. The site plan review fee for this project is $1,500. The stormwater pollution prevention plan, SWIP, is included in the project plan but has not been reviewed at this time. The fee for this review will be determined at the time of review. That is Ken Krause's letter, so I apologize to the board. I didn't read that prior to the motion. So we got a motion and a second. Again, this opens it up for discussion. Any discussion?
Can I ask a question regarding landscaping?
Yes, you can.
This is Donna. Were there any Bradford pear trees to be planted around the site? I can't read it on the computer, I'm sorry.
Wow, I don't have that landscape plan in front of me, but are you requesting Bradford pears anywhere, or no?
I'm requesting not to use Bradford pears since they are considered to be an invasive species.
Well, based upon your comments, we will not have any Bradford pears on that property.
Thank you.
Should we make that a contingent? Adam, should we add that, or is his comments good enough?
That's really to the discretion of the board. The board, there's a motion and a second for the board at this point.
So we would have to modify.
So I believe Mr. Burleson could, at this time, make an amendment to the motion for consideration.
I will make an amendment to not have Bradford pears on this site.
Jason, do you second that motion?
Second.
All right, motion. Any further discussion?
I'm looking at the landscaping plan now. I do not see any Bradford pears on here. There's a Cleveland pear, but no
Okay.
Bradford pears.
Awesome, thank you. With that, roll call, please.
Bob Rolson,
Yes.
John Gill,
Yes.
Donna Little,
Yes.
Jason Vlasic,
Yes.
Nancy Woland,
Yes.
John Kennedy.
Yes, motion approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate your time.
Next on the agenda, we have a public hearing for the Gates of St. John, Unit 13A, Lot 431. This is for final easement reduction. Is the petitioner here tonight? Okay, he's here. Sergio, why don't you run us through this?
Sure.
Just one more quick time.
Andrew Larney is requesting to reduce the rear platted easement from 30 feet to 15 feet. He's provided a plat of easement reduction and 2 sets of Mylars for signature. That is the request for this evening.
Very good. Ken, and you have reviewed this already?
Yeah, I think I stated at the last meeting that I was surprised that this was on the agenda, that it hadn't been taken care of back last November when this all came up. So I was surprised to see it on the agenda. And at that time, Bob Davis, myself, and Rick Eberly went out there to inspect the site, and we could see no reason why that easement could not be reduced.
Very good. All right, Sergio, are we good to go to public comment or public hearing?
Yes.
Awesome. With that, I will open up public hearing for the Gates of St. John, Unit 13A, Lot 431, for final plat of easement reduction. Is there anyone from the general public that would like to speak? Is there anyone online that would like to speak? Sergio, any electronic?
We did not receive any electronic correspondence regarding this petition since of 6:30 this evening.
All right. With that, ask again. And final time, I will close the public hearing for the Gates of St. John Unit 13A Lot 431. Bring it back to the board if they have any questions or comments. If not, entertain a motion.
Question for you, Ken. No deep sewers back there that would require the 30 feet?
No, there's a NIPSCO line and there is a storm sewer line, but it's right up against the property line, so reducing the easement shouldn't affect it.
Okay. Need a motion?
Need a motion, yep.
Make a motion to approve the Gates of St. John Unit 13A, Lot 431 for final plat of easement reduction, rear yard at 9970 White Jasmine Drive.
I got a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
You got a second from Nancy. Discussion? Hearing no discussion. Roll call, please, Sergio.
Bob Burleson,
Yes.
John Gill,
Yes.
Donna Little,
Yes.
Jason Vlasic,
Yes.
Nancy Woland,
Yes.
and John Kennedy.
Yes. Motion to approve. Next on the agenda, we have Parish Woods, primary plat. Mr. Fleming, how are you, sir? Good. All right, Mr. Fleming, if you just want to give us an update of changes.
Correct. From our last meeting at the study session, we left with the notes and comments to review expanding the right-of-way from 40 feet to 45 feet. Our engineering team was able to satisfy that request. It has been submitted then to city engineer as well as to Sergio. That would have been last Wednesday. That was not a comprehensive change to the design. Luckily, we were able to shift it without having any consequential change to lot sizes that would otherwise be prohibitive in regards to requiring a variance. We agreed at the last meeting that we would be moving forward with the 8-foot sidewalk. The other request that had been made at that meeting was to evaluate whether or not the wetlands to the south property line would be able to be removed under the new rule. Spoke to the wetland consultant that we use, was informed that if the wetland extends across a property line, that it is not allowed to follow that procedure. 2 of the 3 delineated wetlands do cross the property lines, and consequently the third lines up with the other. So while I could get rid of the third, I couldn't get rid of the other 2, which is a roadblock, pun intended, in that regard, that we would not be able to stub that right-of-way, unfortunately, to the south. And moreover, we did hear some public comment from the adjacent property owner regarding preservation of the wetlands, so kind of don't really want to get into that either, with that being something that was of a concern to them.
And I also heard the stub road is not a waiver requirement.
It is not a waiver requirement?
So I misspoke at the last study session.
Understood.
So it is not, just so the board understands, it is not a waiver requirement for the stub road. It is just, it's may, and so how we look at it, so I for the misspeak, so.
The only other additional comment that I would address is that the comment came back to us by way of the engineer that there was a request to see if whether or not left-hand turn lanes would be able to be accommodated, and a quick draft design of that yielded a negative result in that it would be an or situation. Unfortunately, with the width that would be needed to accommodate those drive lanes and the left turn lane, we would lose the ability to host a sidewalk in that right-of-way. I would defer to the board whether or not left turns is more important than the sidewalk, but I can't give you both, unfortunately, just because of the restraints that I have on spacing with regards to the 45-foot right-of-way.
So could it be left turn and no side, you just wouldn't have enough space for
That's
any
correct.
sidewalk? It'd be zero sidewalk.
And I'm speaking just from the notes that were given to me from Randy Peterson and Abermach, was that with that expansion of the shifting the drive lane to accommodate the left-hand turn, we would be left with approximately somewhere between 18 to 30 inches depending on where the curb back would be to the edge of the right-of-way. So it's not even a question of how wide could the sidewalk be. If it can't meet ADA, technically, we can't put it in.
Understand.
So again, I'll revert back to my statement that it is an or type situation. Honestly, I'm indifferent. So I suppose what the commission would prefer to have, I'm happy to go either direction at your discretion.
Any other comments before we bring it to the board for further discussion?
I think that covers everything from the last meeting, and then the inter-meeting communication that we had regarding the left-hand turns.
Okay. Any comment from the board? Ken, I know you're still, so we haven't received a plat review from our town engineer.
Yeah, there's a couple of items that Mr. Fleming hasn't mentioned that were in the original review notes that I sent to Abenmarch, the engineer. One is the 5-foot no access easement along Parish Avenue, including Lot 24. Lot 24 does not show the 5-foot no access easement. I know there's an existing driveway there, but it could be grandfathered as long as that house remains the same and doesn't have to be replaced or repaired for more than, what is it, 80%? Whatever that percentage is. Then it would have to go to Atherton instead of out to Parish. The second thing was we requested a 12-inch water main from the north property line to the south property line of the subdivision along Parish. We only have a 12-inch going from the north property line to the first street and the south property line to the other street. The in-between part, there's no water main shown there. And then the third thing was the lift station, we require that it have a SCADA system. And I directed Mr. Peterson to call or get in contact with Jason Dravitt, who has all the information about what's required, what the equipment is to be used, and all that sort of thing. And he emailed Mr. Peterson about Austin Electric is the one who's doing the work in the town right now for that, and they would be a good contact for him too. As of today, they have not contacted Jason or Austin Electric for that information. And the drawings don't show anything on there that says the SCADA system is to be included with the system. So right now, we need to have that on there. That needs to be part of it. So those are the three things that I have. As far as the right-of-way, the 45 feet is there. And of course, as you know, that's half of the right-of-way for a minor arterial road, which is a 90-foot right-of-way for both halves. What we're trying to look at is 4 lanes. One would be a northbound, a southbound lane, a left turn lane, and an XL decel lane. That's 4 lanes. That's 48 feet with curb and gutter on both sides. That's 4 more feet. That's 52 feet and an 8-foot bike path. That's 60 feet. And if you put the sidewalk on the west side, there's 65 feet, and that's all the right-of-way we have there. So there's no room for drainage. So I don't recommend a left turn lane in here at this time.
Okay. Well, that helps make our decision.
Well,
and
the
then-
one, I did see a plan with the passing blisters, but the passing blisters at each of these two new roads went beyond the west right-of-way line by a couple of feet. So that wasn't going to work unless we could jog the whole thing over. And I just explained to you why we can't do that, because we used up all of the right-of-way that we have. So until more right-of-way is obtained, I can't see putting the left turn or passing blisters in there at this time.
Okay. And then Sergio, we talked about side yard setbacks, 5 to 10 feet.
Oh, yeah, and I think this is probably something minor that could be corrected. If you look on the sheet that's up on page 3, under notes, item number 3 says building setbacks there shall be defined as follows. The question came into the side yard, which is 5 feet or 10 feet for a total of 15 feet, does not comply with the current zoning standards of 10 feet on either side. So that just needs to be corrected. It appears that may be some language from another development.
And then the only other thing I saw is, I know you have lot 28 and 19 as only 95 feet wide. You have lots 27 and 20 at 110
That's 120. Lot 28,
is 120.
yeah, if you look
So-
at the rear property line.
Yeah, you're looking at to the curve.
Oh, I'm looking at to the curb, I apologize. So, our lot sizes are 100 feet wide, corner lots are supposed to be up to 20% larger than that. Understanding you have the right-of-way issue to deal with, I personally would like to see a larger corner lot. I think, Adam, is it correct that the Plan Commission could grant a waiver on that 20% increase?
I believe, yes, that's part of the subdivision control
Okay.
ordinance, so the plan
John, but he
commission
does have
can-
the 120
What am I
on
reading?
all those
Yeah.
corner lots.
Oh, he does? I'm sorry.
120.
I'm looking at the,
We
Yeah,
just
you're looking at the
squeaked it
curve.
I apologize. My bad.
in. We just squeaked it in. It's,
Yeah, okay, then he's got it, okay. So I know you want to move forward as quickly as you can, we would like to get this, but I would feel more comfortable with any decision after Ken had plenty of time to review all the final changes that would be required. I don't know how the board feels with that, or,
Yeah, so how much have you reviewed? Have you reviewed the,
These are the three things that I was waiting for with Sergio's side yard. Those four things are the only things that need to be addressed.
okay,
Everything, the drainage is fine, the grading is fine, the roads are fine, the sanitary sewer system is fine. These are the lift station SCADA system, the water line, and the no access easement, and the side yard setback. Yeah, those are the four things that need to be addressed. Everything else is all right.
need to be addressed, need to be corrected?
Well, they need to be shown on the drawings.
Yeah.
There's, like I said, there's not even a note on the drawing for the lift station that the SCADA system has to be included.
Okay.
And I mentioned the side yards all the way back at their first time at the Plan Commission when the attorney presented before Ryan was even president.
the plat is easily corrected with, as far as the verbiage. I apologize that was not done. And as far as the 5-foot no access easement, it might be my fault for not having communicated that to Randy, but again, something easily added, but I agreed to it at the meeting, and the grandfathering, we just want to make sure that's in place, so that we don't end up with a house that can't face the correct way,
Right.
because we're trying to preserve the house rather than tear it down.
I do have a question about that lot. What address will it have? Will it have the current Parish Street address, or will it have an Atherton?
I might defer to the post office on that. I'm indifferent, but I typically
Yeah.
ask them I give them what we would record and make sure they're okay with it.
Is it the same people living in that house now as who owned it?
No, currently it's rented until the time for which we will be doing the substantial remodeling to it to make it fit within the
So
modern
if you went with
construction.
an Atherton address, you're not
I could
making
we could do
somebody
both,
change all their checking account addresses and all of their other things that they have their address. Yeah.
As far as the lift station, I believe Randy told me he did email, but things, most of the times when it comes to those, we just hand it off, they design it, we pay for it. And as far as the 12-inch water line, would we be able to run that continuously through on Atherton, or do we need, are you requiring
No,
redundancy?
we needed to go down Parish so that it can be expanded on in the future. We can extend it to the west
Is
or
there-
to the south.
Is there adequate pressure for our 27 lots?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I might have to investigate whether or not we can do the 12-inch, or if we would have to get a recapture or some kind of sharing.
Yeah, the water tower's basically across the street from you, so you're going to have plenty of pressure.
So what, you're showing 12-inch through your subdivision, through
No, it's got an 8-inch through the
8-inch,
subdivision.
okay.
But I was wondering if we could run the 12-inch to the subdivision for the continuation of that 12 rather than on the front.
Well, the reason for it being on Parish is to eventually serve the people across the street. So if that part isn't there, there's nothing for them to connect to.
Okay. Then I would need to review whether or not there's the possibility of recapture, or there's any kind of cost sharing on that, as it would not be fully for servicing our site.
Yeah, I don't know how that all works. I'll defer to Adam on that one.
Well, you would want it along Parish because ideally water mains should be looped so you don't have dead ends. So that would help serve the 27 lots by looping the water main instead of having a dead end at the south end.
Understood, but an 8-inch would suffice if water pressure is adequate for our site.
All right, bring it back to the board for further discussions, comments. So we're down to these right now, just so that we're all on the same page. 4 comments that need to be reviewed is the access off of Parish, the water line, lift station, SCADA, and just clarifying the side yard setbacks. Just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Mr. Fleming's been here 3 times, so. All right. Bring it back to the board to make motion.
Make a motion to approve Parish Woods,
You want to make it approve? He still has to.
yeah, contingent,
Okay. Very good.
contingent,
Okay,
to
okay, perfect.
Ken Krause's 4 comments
Good.
for primary plat.
I got a motion to approve based, contingent on Ken's comments. Is there a second? Again, a second doesn't mean you have to approve with the motion. It just opens it up for discussion.
I'll second.
I have a second. Discussion? I guess, Ken, I'll ask you, are you comfortable moving forward? I mean, you would make a final recommendation if it should be approved or not.
Yeah, like you said, I've reviewed everything else. These are just the 4 things that need to be addressed. I would heartily recommend that Randy gives Jason a call and get that information, especially on the lift station. That's the one that really bugs me the most. But no, I have no problem with doing it this way.
Okay. Adam, Sergio, you guys good with that? Contingent? Okay, just want to make sure. All right, I got a motion.
How do you get it?
Mr. Fleming, I'll just,
Well, it's in the county.
well, have you met every requirement? part of the findings of facts talks about connectivity throughout the community. I have been a big proponent of making sure
You're gonna need,
acreages that is not developed, even though there is a farm there, and I hope they stay there for 1,000 years. But
they have 20 now.
I'm very big proponent on additional connectivity throughout the community.
Right.
And so, with that, I'll take a motion, roll call.
yes.
Bob Burleson,
Yes.
John Gill,
Wait, do we, yeah, wait a second.
Yes.
Donna Little,
Yes.
Jason Vlasic,
Yes.
Nancy Woland,
No.
and John Kennedy.
No. Motion to approve passes 4-2. Contingent on final site review by Ken. Thank you,
Ken,
Mr. Fleming.
I will have Randy touch base with you to make sure we get all of our
Great.
i's dotted and t's crossed. And I would like to thank the commission for all their efforts through this process. I understand you saw a lot of me. Saw John one time, but hopefully you won't see me for a while because we'll get this going. Thank you.
And thank you. Next on the agenda, we have Centier Bank, proposed development site, shops on 96. We have to include a second monument sign and an electric chargeable program. Sergio, if you want to give the board a rundown real quick, please.
One second, okay. So Centier Bank is looking to install a sign package. They submitted five packages for consideration to the building and planning department. Staff was able to approve 3 of the 5 requested signs. The 2 that were not able to be approved by staff include this sign here, which is the monument sign along Wicker, which includes a reader changeable board, which is prohibited, identified as a prohibited structure within the PUD for Shops 96. The other item is a monument sign used for, is this the new one? No, I'm sorry, this is it here, directional. So it's a monument, a second monument sign for directional purposes. The request, or the PUD limits 1 monument sign per outlot, so this would be their second monument sign request for that. The PUD ordinance requires that any changes to what's approved within the PUD come before the Plan Commission in a public meeting. It does not require a public hearing.
Okay, so just so I understand, the sign out front has a digital board which is not eligible with inside the PUD.
Correct.
It's
this-
not what?
It's a prohibited.
It's
Prohibited, okay.
prohibited within the PUD, the electronic. And the second sign on the back end is the town is considering a secondary a monument sign?
It's a second monument sign. The structure is a monument sign. The content of the sign is a directional sign.
Okay, very good. All right.
Good evening.
Introduce yourself for the
I'm
record,
David
please.
Austin. I practice law in Crown Point at 130 North Main Street. Pleased to be here tonight on behalf of Centier Bank. With me are several representatives of the bank and its consulting team. Larry Yurko from ICU Sign Solutions is present. Here's Larry. We have Dan Plank from Centier Bank. He's the bank officer responsible for this project and its timely completion so the bank can properly open. And we have the developer, Bruce Boyer, with us tonight. I'm going to have Larry explain the signs to you. We really didn't know we were going to have to be here until we came to the counter and presented the sign package, the sign application package, and learned of the 2 positions that Sergio has reported to you tonight. So we really thought that it was a permittable item, and now we are here for going through the public meeting process of review. I would report to you and announce the bank plans on opening on or about July 12th. It's going to be an outstanding addition and a financial institution in this community, and they're going to be a standout leader in the community for what they do and what they bring to the community. So with no further ado, I'm going to have Larry explain the signs to you so you know what they are, what they propose to do and why we asked for them.
Thank you, Mr. Austin.
Before Larry explains, do we have a sign in their packet that meets our requirements and meets the BZA and?
Well, from my understanding, if you just take out on the front sign on the front, if you take out the electrical, I think it's 80 square feet?
Yes.
80 square feet. So technically, if it was just not a digital board, it would meet the requirement.
Okay,
Just because it's digital, part of the PUD states it is not permissible.
okay,
The directional sign, based on the structure, is more of a monument versus a directional sign. Because I've seen Crew Car Wash, they have just a pole with an arrow that says enter. Because of the structure, it's a second monument sign is not eligible on the for every lot.
okay.
I think I got that.
That's right.
That's correct.
Okay.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Larry Yurko, president of ICU Science Solutions, and just wanted to give you the breakdown, I guess, of the two signs that we're seeking here. Both, we'll start with the monument sign out front with the LED digital board. As you had indicated from a size standpoint, that we do comply from a height standpoint. It's just the digital nature and that message board that we're seeking your approval for. It's comparable to other digital signs and will be operated the same of other signs in the community. It is a 10 millimeter, which is a high resolution, which keeps it from having a pixelated effect. It's a high quality board that the bank will be able to utilize in their advertising and all of the offerings that they have. It's a very important piece to the overall package of their signage here on site. It's meets their branding standards with other sites. Granted, it's significantly smaller and lower to the ground. It does incorporate the same characteristics with other banks that they have. So the sign itself is internally illuminated, LED illuminated as well, and all aluminum construction, high quality, high gauge, heavy gauge aluminum construction. So it's a clean, professional looking sign. And then the additional directional sign, we feel, and I know there's just been some verbiage going back and forth with regards to a second monument versus a directional sign. Given its information on the sign, identifying those that are coming to the bank, where the entrance to the bank is, we feel that it is in fact a directional sign. Granted, it's monument in nature, but we have to identify the bank above the entrance portion to let those know that it's the bank's entrance and not the car wash or anybody else there. So that sign also is internally illuminated. It's 4 foot 5 inches tall. We originally had a larger sign proposed there, and after more review and treating it more like a directional sign, we reduced the size of it to 4 foot 5 inches tall by 4 foot 3 inches wide, which gives us character height of bank being 3.5 inches. So we were trying to make it as small but yet as effective as possible. And that sign also is internally illuminated.
All right. So, Sergio, this doesn't need a public hearing. This is specifically, or Adam, discretion of this planning committee.
Does not require a public
Okay.
hearing.
Questions or comments from the board? So you got Crew Car Wash, you got a Wendy's, you got future development. So potentially they could all come back and ask for a digital board that they currently don't have. Sergio, right?
That is correct.
And I understand every petition is unique in its own self, in its own right. I'm just concerned, are we opening up a Pandora's box?
Mr. Chairman, also pursuant to the signage district in the PUD district ordinance, any proposed deviation from that plan must also be approved by the developer. So it's really seeking approval from the town, but also seeking approval from the developer.
Well, there's a letter of support from Mr.
Mr. Boyer.
Boyer
has-
in there, so if, I don't know if this letter constitute his approval of this sign, so then potentially if this board and his letter, then would Crew Car Wash, Wendy's then even have to come before this board for a digital sign, or would they?
In my opinion, they would be required because each owner, each parcel would be separate from the others. So the approval of this application would have no bearing on any other property owners or lots in the development.
So then if Wendy's wanted to come in, they would have to get the support of Mr. Boyer. Is that how I understand it?
If the proposed signage deviates in any way from the planned signage district, which is incorporated, I believe, as Exhibit C to the PUD district ordinance. And it's a very thorough, that signage district is very thorough, and it was thoughtfully developed when the PUD district ordinance was adopted.
Mr. Boyer is here, if you want him on the record.
That'd be fine. Yep, Mr. Boyer.
Good evening, Bruce Boyer, Boyer Properties and Shops 96 Development. I would like to point out that the Crew Car Wash signage package was approved as part of their building permits, and we signed off on that. We certainly don't think they're going to change anything. The Wendy's sign package does not include a message board, and we've signed off and approved on that, and I think that's part of their permit package too. So we certainly recognize that Centir is a little bit different in their business model and their use of the message board. So we're fine with that. I'd also like to point out that the Crew Car Wash sign package also included 2 internal signs that if you've been through there, that are basically at the entrance to the car wash, that are a monument-like sign also, but they are directional signs. So the fact that that sign looks like a monument sign, it truly is a directional sign.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. So why, comment's been made that Crew and Wendy's signs have been approved already, they could still come back to this plan commission and add a digital board.
Or they'd have to get approval from Mr. Boyer and then come back before the Plan Commission per the PUD.
Okay.
But as Mr. Boyer indicated, those packages have already been approved as part of the development plan. The 2 signs that you see before you were not identified in the original development plan for Centir. So these were added after and then also go against the PUD.
So anyone coming in afterwards potentially could ask for any potential digital board.
That would be, again, at the discretion or approval of Mr. Boyer. If he chooses to allow them to waiver from that, he would submit approval or support of that and then come before the Plan Commission per the PUD guidelines.
Mr. Kennedy, I'd also like to point out that this is the last outlot of Shops 9, so the Shops 96, so this is the last monument sign that can be approved.
Okay,
We only have the 3 outlots there along 41, which allows a monument sign.
okay. Questions, comments from the board? If not, I'll entertain it. So I just want to clarify, digital boards are not eligible or or permitted, but however, this sign does meet the size requirement of a
Does.
monument sign.
Yes.
So based on what they're showing here, even though it's digital, it still meets the sign requirement
Does.
for a
It
monument.
meets the square footage requirement for that, yes.
Okay, and then adding a potential second monument sign. So would there be 2 different motions? Would there be one to allow a digital sign? And then would there be a second one? I shouldn't say allow. Would there be a motion for some type of action based on the digital sign? And then would there be a secondary motion on the consideration if that is or allow the sign as a directional, be considered a directional sign? Or, I don't know how those motions, or are you
So-
just approving the whole package?
So the
Or
re-
making a motion on the whole package?
So and I'll defer to Attorney Decker on this, but I believe that it was presented as a package with the two items there, then the motion should be for both packages as presented that go outside of the PUD. And so the request then would be for monument sign, second monument sign, because the ordinance reads one monument sign per outlot. In this case, how the content, we're looking at the content of the sign, which is identified as a directional versus a structure, and is indicated and admitted that this is by nature, a monument sign. So,
Okay. So then, I understand this is the last outlot.
that's.
So the sign, but the signage variant or the signage plan in the PUD, it's for all the lots, correct? I mean, there's additional lots that are coming in.
Correct, those-
That are not outlots.
Correct.
And are they following the same?
They have
package?
separate guidelines as well.
Separate
So-
guidelines as well.
Yeah, I think there's one large monument sign permitted, and so
That's the one
it's
at
a
the
thorough,
center.
it's
the
a
center
thorough,
monument.
it's a thorough PUD sign package within that PUD, so.
So is this the only monument sign you're proposing, or you have one already out
No, the one
on
in
the
front,
site, or
No,
is
sir.
this the only one?
it's the only one in front.
Any other discussions, comments? Sorry, I just want to look something up real quick. So the anchor tenant is different. All right. So just, I'm sorry, guys, I'm probably beating a dead horse. So you got an anchor tenant that will have a sign. I know it's not an outlot, but that anchor tenant wouldn't be allowed to have a digital sign, correct? Because digital signs are prohibited
That's right.
in the property. So why this is your last outlot, digital sign is still not required within the PUD. So and then you're gonna have an anchor tenant that then would potentially have to come back to this plan commission if they wanted to add a digital sign.
That's correct,
That's correct.
yes.
So you got lighting or signage for anchor tenant. And then the outlet. This being the last outlet, they also have a center monument sign or a pylon sign, which will be like one that will have all the signs on all the tenants within the development.
That's correct.
Now, is that one, so that one's not eligible to have a digital sign as well,
Correct, based on the PUD ordinance.
based on the PUD ordinance? All right, bring it back to the board for any comments, questions, concerns. I will entertain any motion. And again, it's for Adam, for the package? For the
Yes.
package. So
The
it's
request being made
either this, okay. And if no motion is made, what happens then? No recommendation, it doesn't go to the council, correct? No.
No, this would not, there's no recommendation to the council. It would simply have not been approved at tonight's meeting. It could
Okay.
be brought before the board at future meetings if there's no action taken tonight.
Want to make a motion to deny the package for the sign for Centier Bank.
Have a motion to deny, second? Again, you don't have to agree with the motion to second, it just opens it up to discussion.
I'll second.
I have a second. Discussions, comments? Just,
Mr. Kennedy,
yes.
before you call for the vote, is there a concern about Center Bank and its planned foundational business in your community? This is part of a business model. We recognized what the ordinance said. The planned signage district is well-known and, as your council has indicated, well-crafted. But we've heard nothing from you about objective basis for a denial or for consideration of denial.
Well, I was gonna
And-
open it up for discussion from the board now that a motion has been made.
Okay?
So I would prefer the denial for me, because that's what the direction is, if it's a well-crafted signage package that has previously been agreed to by the developer and the leaders of our town, which are not leaders anymore, I think we should keep it in place. If the owner and the new leaders of our town have a different theory or thought on how signage should be, I think those individuals should have a discussion and update the PUD appropriately as the new leaders like to see it. Previous administration, I'll say, liked it as no electronic. New leadership might like keep administration or electronic version or no electronic version, but I think it's, the PUD was an agreement between the town and the developer, and I think, the town council and the developer, and I think any changes to that PUD should be between the developer and the town administration again. So, with that, I will open it up for roll call for, if there's no other further discussion from the board regarding the PUD or the motion and the signage, I'll entertain any motion, or not motion, any further discussion or comments?
And I wish Centier didn't even have to come to this meeting tonight.
It's not
And
about,
I have nothing against Centier
not
at all. They've been around for 100-something years, family-owned. I tip my hat off to them. But John couldn't have said it any better.
motion to deny is on the table with a second. Any other comments, discussion? If not, roll call?
Bob Rolson,
Yes.
John Gill,
Yes.
Donna Little,
Yes.
Jason Vlasic,
Yes.
Nancy Woland,
No.
and John Kennedy.
Yes, motion to deny approved.
Good evening.
Good evening. Next on the agenda, we have Permashiel and Tool preliminary plat review of easement vacation. Are they here? That's just going to go to a public hearing, right?
Correct.
Anyone's here. Oh, We got one more.
Vacation, it's a reduction.
Reduction, I'm sorry, reduction. I don't see anyone here, reduction, but that will go to a public hearing on June 7th. Next on, we have Tractor Supply. Is anybody online from Tractor Supply?
Just 1 second, Mr. President, sorry. We'll contact the engineer, the surveyor, and ask them to correct that plat of easement vacation to easement reduction, engineer for that, so that way we have that corrected.
Gotcha.
And then we'll bring up the next item.
Good catch, Ken.
Somebody else caught it, but I just remembered that.
You should have just taken the credit.
Yeah, take it.
All right, we got Tractor Supply. They unfortunately were here for the last study session, which was long and arduous, and they have on there to propose development site plan, rooftop over existing garden. Ken, did you have time to review this? I don't see, or do you even review something like this? It's inside their fence.
I mean, we're putting an impervious surface over an impervious surface, so it doesn't change anything as far as drainage goes, so I don't know that I would have any pertinent comments on this.
Okay. With that, there's, in the table, if there's no comment or questions, a motion to approve the proposed development site plan, which is a 26 by 96 rooftop over an existing garden greenhouse center. Any questions or comments?
No.
If not, I'll entertain a motion. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Oh, no, this is for the easement reduction. I apologize. Sergio, you were about to say?
You want me to, I'm sorry, you're going to entertain the motion, sorry.
No, I was going to read a letter that's for a different application. I was looking at.
What?
Ken, okay. No,
Sorry.
I was about to read a Ken letter for a different submittal, so. Were you about to say something? No, all right. With that, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a,
Do you have to make an announcement on,
Well, we got to do the Tractor Supply
the Tractor Supply is one of,
number,
Public hearing.
is F.
number F?
I'm talking about this one here.
Yeah, but we got to do the one right above that. Oh, is there a public hearing?
It's, yeah.
Oh,
Oh, thank you.
So they may be on the phone to discuss the project and then set it for public hearing.
Is there anyone from Tractor Supply on the phone? Oh, that's right, they were only here for the study session.
I see Aaron Blue on the line. Looks like his mic is on mute, or phone is on mute.
All right. Well, if he hops on before we get to adjournment, we'll go back there. So public hearing announcement, we will have the preliminary plat review of easement reduction for per machine and tool. And then we also will have the public hearing for the proposed development site plan for Tractor Supply on our next public hearing for July 7th, 2021. Any public comment? And one more time, is anyone from Tractor Supply on before we go to adjournment? With that, we'll adjourn.
what's that?
Do you have it turned on?